First of all, Greg, I want to tell you something, okay? So I have spoken at literally millions of dollars of sponsored lunches, breakfasts, and dinners. And typically, you get a speaking slot like that because you sponsored it, right? And what usually happens is some vice president of some company who really does not want to be there comes up and says that, well, believes that because they pay tens of thousands of dollars to sponsor this thing, that they have the right to basically give a 15-minute pitch. And so all they do is they talk about their bullshit, patent-pending, curve-jumping, paradigm-shifting, enterprise, scalable, product, right? And so you're the first time I've ever seen any sponsor do something that had actual value. And so that's kind of an aha moment for me too, that, God, a sponsor could, I'm a social media guy. I want to tell you what you did in today's vernacular in social media. You did content marketing, right? So most people just pitch and they say, oh, we have, the most reliable, whatever, but you provided content. So now we're all going to remember Fujitsu for having great content, not some bullshit pitch. So this is a big day in my life because this is the first time this happened to me in 30 years of, sponsored lunches and dinners. So I congratulate you. I want to talk about some aha moments too. Basically, I'll tell you how it worked in the Macintosh division. When Steve had an aha moment, we all did. And then it was that simple. We had top-down aha-ness. Apple was at best a benevolent autocracy. And so when Steve saw something that was amazing, we all saw it later. So that's how it worked. I want to thank you for this opportunity. Tim, I want you to know that I have not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, but 6 AT&T accounts. Okay? I am the epitome of the shared data plan. And I just wish I knew to convert to the shared data plan earlier. But I am a happy, more bars in more places, baby. I'm a happy AT&T customer. And I would even have a 7th one because I got another tablet, so I might add it. But I think there must be some theoretical limit. And not only am I a shared data guy, but every month I go past my 20 gigabyte limit. So I am your best case. You should sponsor me. So I'm going to talk to you tonight about the art of innovation. This is something that I learned while working at Apple, as well as my own companies as an entrepreneur. I am a chief evangelist of a small company out of Sydney, Australia now that does online graphics design. It's kind of a fast, free, and easy version of Photoshop, if you will. And so in my career, which started in 1983 in technology, I've had to learn a lot about innovation. I've been around a lot of innovative people. I can't tell you I did everything right, but this is what I learned about innovation. I have seen many, many high-tech speakers, and other than the ones in telecommunications, I'll tell you that there are 2 very common qualities of tech speakers, which is first, they suck. And second, they go long. And that's a deadly combination. If you suck and your speech is short, it's okay, And if you're great and your speech is long, also okay. But if you suck and go long, that's like being stupid and arrogant, right? And so what I did is I used the top 10 format for my speeches so that in case anybody thinks I suck, you know approximately how much longer I'll suck. So, a little bit more of my background. I worked for Apple twice, 83 to 87. I was Apple's software evangelist. My job was to convince companies to write Mac software. This was in the Macintosh division, which was arguably the greatest collection of egomaniacs in the history of Silicon Valley. That is saying a lot, believe me. We held that record for about 30 years until Facebook broke the record. Back then the company had 2 divisions. There was the Apple II division, which was shipping, and the Macintosh division, which was not shipping. So if you looked at the Apple P&L, the P was Apple II, the L was Macintosh. We were such bad people, and we believed we were, the hand-picked special children of Steve Jobs, we would not let Apple II division employees into the Macintosh division building. So if you can imagine working for, one part of AT&T and you can't go into another part of AT&T, or working for one part of Verizon, not allowed into another part of Verizon, or working for one part of Fujitsu, not allowed into the other part of Fujitsu. And then the Apple II people figured out that they were not being allowed into a building they essentially were paying for. So that upset them some. So they came up with this great joke about us, which is how many Macintosh division employees does it take to screw in a light bulb? The answer is 1. The Macintosh division employee holds up the light bulb and expects the entire universe to revolve around him. How many of you use Windows in this audience? I should have told me that in advance. Is Microsoft a sponsor? They are? They're not a sponsor. Okay, they won't be. So the Microsoft version of this joke is how many Microsoft employees does it take to screw a light bulb? And the answer is none, because Bill Gates has declared darkness the new standard. So the top 10 for innovation. So the first thing I learned about innovation, I learned it at Apple, which is innovation is usually motivated by the desire to make meaning, that is, to change the world. As an investor, as an observer of many tech startups, I think that the companies who start off primarily to make money usually fail. They attract the wrong kind of people. The genesis of great companies are companies who wanted to make the world a better place. I'll give you some examples from Silicon Valley. So the first company, of course, is Apple. And Apple wanted to democratize computers. The story here is that Steve and Woz were asking, why is it that a computer is so expensive, so hard to use, that you have to work for a university, work for the government, you have to work for a large institution. Computers should be cheaper and smaller and easy to use. And so they created Apple. The meaning they made was democratizing computers. Google. I believe Google has democratized information. That it should not be that, only the Pope and only people with scribes and only people who own libraries can access all the information in the world. Anybody with computer access should be able to access all the information in the world. And the final example, I think, is eBay. eBay has democratized commerce so that anybody making dolls in the middle of Texas could stand toe-to-toe with Walmart or Target. They democratized commerce. So my observation is that if you want to truly be innovative, it is motivated by the desire to make meaning. And if you do make meaning, one of the natural outcomes of making meaning is you will also make money. But it is a natural outcome of a desired goal, which is to make meaning. Step number 1. Step number 2 is to anticipate what your customers will want. In the mid-'80s, we were making an Apple II. And if we asked our customers what they wanted, they would all say, give us a bigger, faster, cheaper Apple II. More memory, more space, more color, more whatever. Bigger, faster, cheaper Apple II. And in fact, nobody was saying, give us a Macintosh. Give us a cute little graphics toy, which thanks to my effort had no software, had a mouse, integrated text and graphics, multiple fonts, WYSIWYG display, WYSIWYG printing. And I learned a very valuable lesson at Apple, and from Steve in particular, that customers usually cannot tell you what they need. They can tell you how to revise the status quo, but they cannot tell you how to get to the next curve. This has to come from you. They are great at telling you how to revise a revolution, but they cannot describe a revolution because they can only think in terms of what they already know, anticipate needs. Step 3 is to jump to the next curve. So if you're going to anticipate a need, I'll tell you, most of the time it's because you jumped to the next curve. You didn't duke it out on the same curve. If you were on the telegraph curve, you didn't make a better telegraph. You got to the telephone curve. If you were on the daisy wheel printer curve, you didn't make more fonts and more sizes. You got to the laser printer curve. And if you're in the laser printer curve, you got to the 3D printing curve. It's always about the next curve where innovation occurs. Classic analog example, ICE 1.0. There used to be an ice harvesting business in the United States. In this ice harvesting business, Bubba and Junior would go to a frozen lake or a frozen pond with a saw, a horse, and a sleigh. They would cut blocks of ice. 9 million pounds were harvested in 1900. This had some limitations. It had to be a cold time of year. It had to be a cold city. But it provided something very useful: cleanliness, convenience, the ability to store food longer. Ice 2.0 happened about 30 years later. Now you had ice factories, and the ice man delivered ice to your house. Water was frozen centrally and delivered to you. Big technological breakthrough, because now it did not have to be winter. It did not have to be a cold city. Hallelujah. Bubba and Junior could live in Honolulu and own an ice factory. 30 years go by again, and now we have the refrigerator curve. Even better. Now you're not limited by freezing water centrally, transporting frozen water in a truck with the Iceman. Now everybody could have their own ice factory. It's called a PC, personal chiller, a refrigerator. The very interesting story about this is that none of the ice factories became, none of the ice harvesters became refrigerator companies, and none of the refrigerator companies became, I must be totally jet lagged. Okay, none of the ice harvesters became ice factories, and none of the ice factories became refrigerator companies. Everybody started on the curve they were on and died on the curve they were on. If you started on the typewriter curve, you died on the typewriter curve. None of us use Remington Rand or Smith Corona today, right? None of us use Wang word processors because they define themselves as we're in the business of word processing. We're in the business of having keys that strike paper and come back, right? We're in the typewriter business. But you have to look at what your organization actually provides as opposed to the process that it used to provide that. So, in a sense, the ice harvester, the ice factory, and the refrigerator company all provided the same thing: convenience and cleanliness. If you were an ice harvester, you cut blocks of ice. If you were an ice factory, you froze blocks of ice. If you were a refrigerator company, you made a mechanical gizmo. But everybody provided the same thing. Most companies define themselves in terms of what they do as opposed to what services and benefits they provide. The way to remain innovative is to keep jumping to the next curve. Theoretically, Bubba and Junior, the ice harvester, upon seeing the ice factory, should have said, "Hallelujah, Bubba. It doesn't have to be winter. We don't have to live in a cold city. We can freeze water essentially any time of year." And Bubba and Junior, the ice factory owner, should have seen a refrigerator and said, "Hallelujah, Bubba. Now, we don't have to freeze water centrally. We can build a mechanical gizmo and sell it to anybody who wants to have their own personal ice factory." I learned a very valuable lesson. True innovation usually occurs on the next curve, not on the curve you're already on. The fourth thing is to define some of the qualities of great innovation. I call it DICEY. The D in DICEY stands for deep. Great product, great services are deep. Lots of features, lots of functionality. This is an example. This is a sandal made by Reef. It's called a fanning. And in that circled area there is a metal clip. This sandal has twice the functionality, twice the depth of any other sandal. Because this sandal not only protects your feet, it opens beer bottles. Twice the depth of any other sandal. That's depth. Great products are also intelligent. When you look at this, you say, aha, this company understood my pain. This company understood my problem. This is a GT500 Shelby Mustang. It has approximately 650 horsepower. This is a truly badass Mustang. For those of you not into cars, this is equivalent to 6.8 Priuses. Okay? So, I am just about to make 60. And I'm going through midlife crisis, feelings of inadequacy, impotency, all the good stuff that men go through. So I would love to be able to compensate. And one way to compensate would be to buy a Mustang like this. But I have 4 children, and of the 4 children, 2 have licenses, an 18-year-old boy and a 20-year-old boy. And so I know that, no matter how carefully I plan it, there will be times where they might have to drive Dad's Mustang, right? Dad's going to Dallas for a night. We should drop him off at the airport. And I have to tell you, the thought of either of those boys driving a car with 650 horsepower is just immoral to me. I mean, it's not right to unleash those boys upon society in a car like this. But then I discovered Ford has a very clever product called the Mikey. And what the Mikey enables you to do is program the top speed of a car into the key. So if I were going to go to Dallas overnight and I had a Mustang, I would give them a key programmed to go no faster than 55 miles an hour. Now, in case any of you embrace this idea and do this, just understand that the key controls the top speed of the car, not how long it takes to get to the top speed of the car. Great products are also complete. It's the totality. Google is not just the search engine. It's analytics. It's mail. It's Google Plus, the social media thing, right? It is online picture editing. It is a lot of stuff. It's Picasso. It's a lot of stuff. When you buy a car, it's not just the leather and the steel and the rubber. It's the totality of the car. Pre-sale, post-sale. Lexus excels at something like this. It's complete. Great products are also empowering. This is the key to Apple's success, that Apple Macintosh makes you more creative and more productive. Whereas you have to fight Windows, you have to wrestle Windows to the ground, you need to defeat Windows, right? With Macintosh, Macintosh becomes one with you. It makes you a better person. It makes you more creative and more productive. How many of you use Macintoshes in this room again? Some of you are raising your hands twice. Do you use Macintosh and Windows? Key to Apple, it empowers people. It doesn't fight people. Great products empower people. And finally, great products are elegant. Somebody cared about the user interface and the industrial design. So as you are trying to jump curves, ask yourself, are we creating something that's deep, intelligent, complete, empowering, and elegant? Next thing, let 100 flowers blossom. This I stole from Chairman Mao, although I fail to see how he actually implemented this. What this means is that when you're an innovator, you take your best shot in positioning and branding, and you think you know exactly who should use your product and how they should use your product. But what you'll find is that unexpected people use your product in unexpected ways. And when this happens, many companies freak out. Like, oh my God, the wrong people are using our products in large quantities. My first recommendation for you, if you ever experience this in your careers, is take the money. Always take the money. My second recommendation is that you find out from the people who are buying your product, why are they buying it, and give them more reasons to, which is different than asking the people who are not buying your product, why are they not buying it, and trying to fix it for them. I think that is much less effective. So letting 100 flowers blossom means that, with Macintosh, we tried to make it a spreadsheet database and word processing machine in the mid-'80s. If you're a Macintosh user from back then, you know we were 0 for 3. There was a product, however, that blossomed. Is PageMaker, Aldous PageMaker. Aldous PageMaker created a field of flowers called desktop publishing, and desktop publishing saved Apple. If it wasn't for desktop publishing, there would be no Apple today. If there was no Apple today, the world would be different. We'd all have phones with real keyboards, right? We'd have phones where the battery lasted for more than half a day. We'd have phones where the GPS actually got you to where you want to go. It would be a different world. It would be a completely different world. I think that, frankly, PageMaker was a gift from God to Apple because it saved Apple. I believe in God, and one of the reasons why I believe in God is that there is no other explanation for Apple's continued survival than the existence of God. There are no atheists Apple customers, trust me when I tell you. The point here is to let 100 flowers blossom. A more analog example. Let's suppose that you're the VP of marketing of Avon. You come out with a new product called Skin So Soft. What does Skin So Soft do? What's it supposed to do? How's it positioned? It's about beauty, softness, all this good stuff, moisture, right? And then you find out that women are buying Skin So Soft, not for their skin, not to look beautiful and soft and luscious and all that good stuff. They're buying it as an insect repellent for their kids. Now, in all your branding and positioning statements, it never occurred to you that, we're replacing DDT. That wasn't exactly the intended outcome, right? But what do? My advice, if you're VP of Marketing of Avon, you take the money, right? If women want to use Skin So Soft as a kid's insect repellent, hallelujah. Declare victory. Let 100 flowers blossom. The next thing is to niche thyself. I think this is all the marketing anybody ever needs to know. This is a 2x2 matrix, uniqueness vertically, value horizontally. It's a 2x2 matrix. If any of you work for McKinsey, any of your organizations have hired McKinsey, they would charge you $250,000 just to tell you you should be in the upper right-hand corner, okay? Courtesy of the TIA, you're getting this for free tonight. All right. So let's go through all 4 corners. In the bottom right corner is the corner where you produce something of value. It's good. It does what it's supposed to do, but it is not unique. You can get a Windows machine from Dell, HP, Lenovo. Same operating system on the same hardware. In that space, you have to compete on price. Not the worst place. You can make a lot of money there, but you always have to compete on price. In the opposite corner, this is a corner where you have done something that's truly unique. Only you do it, but it is of no use. Okay? In that corner, you are just plain stupid. This corner is even worse. This is the .com corner. In the .com corner, you have a product or service that's not only useless, there's lots of companies doing the same useless thing. Great example of this is Pets.com. Pets.com, Silicon Valley. Let me explain the pitch for Pets.com. 300 million Americans. 1 in 4 owns a dog. 75 million dogs. Each dog eats 2 cans of dog food per day. This is a great business. It's not B2B where, Saturdays and Sundays are off. This is, well, actually it's B2D. That dogs eat every day, right? So it's 150 million cans of dog food, total addressable market every day. So how hard could it be to get just 1% of that? That's 1.5 million cans of dog food per day. Worst case with my rock star programmers. That's the pitch for Pets.com. Now, as a business model, it's very simple. It's supply chain management. You have a cow, you have a dog. You need to kill the cow, cut it in pieces, put it in a can, get it to the dog. That's it. We're not talking rocket science, we're not talking JDS Uniphase, we're not talking about optical, nothing. This is putting dead cows in cans. So you look at this and you say, where can we make an improvement in this supply chain management issue? Oh, why do people have to drive to a dog food store? They have to get in their car, drive, find parking, get out, then they go into the dog food store, and then at the point of purchase, what do you really do? Are you tasting the dog food? Are you providing some kind of scientific, objective analysis? It's crying out loud, it's dead cows in cans. So let's eliminate the pet food store. Hallelujah, we can discount pet food 20%. So far, so good. The problem occurs is that now, you may have discounted the top line 20%, but at the bottom line, you have to add back shipping and handling. So the discount you gave at the top line because you disintermediate pet food store, you have to add back because of shipping and handling. And then it became arguably less convenient because someone had to be at home when UPS dropped off the dead cow in the can. So it was not valuable. And then it was not unique because people like me in Silicon Valley, we saw, well, if Kleiner Perkins has a Pets.com and Sequoia has a Pets.com, then we need our Pets.com because total addressable market of 150 million freaking cans of dog food per day. So that's why there were e-pets, iPets, last-minute pets, discount pets. There's 16 ways to spend as much money online for dog food and be less convenient, and that's the .com corner. So the corner you truly want to be in is in the upper right-hand corner. In this upper right-hand corner, you are valuable and you are unique. Some examples, real-world examples. I love to go to movies. I go to a movie or two a week. And when you take kids to a movie, you really want to know before you go, right? You don't want to get there and it's sold out. And for the theaters that we go to, the only way you can buy a movie ticket for that theater is Fandango. We pay $1.50 more per ticket. But that's worth it because you don't want to go to a movie theater and find out that the movie, the opening of Superman 3 or Iron Man 4 or whatever, Godzilla 2, you don't want to find out that it's sold out. In fact, you don't even want to go there and find out there's a line. You just want to walk in, and Fandango enables you to do that. It's the only way I can do it. Another example, Brightening emergency watch. This watch, if you pull out the big knob at the 5 o'clock position, it starts broadcasting the emergency signal that airplanes catch. And so airplanes see that, and they assume that it means there's a downed airplane, right? So this is something, you don't do this when you took the wrong exit on a freeway, okay? You do this when you're about to die, because when airplanes see that, basically they call up Kevin Costner, he gets in his Coast Guard helicopter, and he's starting to look for you. Well, this is one of the few watches that if you're a helicopter skier or you're a sailor, this watch literally can save your life. There's not many watches that you can say can do that. And this is another example. This is a smart car. All of us have cars that can park parallel to the curb. What if there's not a lot of parking? How many of you have cars that can park perpendicular to the curb? Not too many. Another example of a unique and valuable service. And finally, I don't know about you guys, but I love Uber. I love Uber. Uber to me is unique and valuable. That I just land, I land at Kennedy and I see a 1-hour line for cabs and I go on Uber and 5 minutes later I'm in a black town and country sedan. Arguably it costs 20% more, but at some level, 20% more to skip an hour line at JFK is worth it. I think Uber is unique and valuable. So I think that all of innovation comes down to, if you're an engineer, are you producing something that's unique and valuable? If you're marketing, are you telling the world and convincing the world that what you have is unique and valuable? Upper right-hand corner. Number 7. Number 7 is something that I stole from the Black Panthers. They say burn, baby, burn. I say churn, baby, churn, which means that one of the hardest things for an innovator and a revolutionary is to take version 1 and make it 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, 2.0. And I'll tell you why it's so hard. Because to be an innovator, you need to be in denial. You need to be in denial because so many people are going to tell you, it can't be done, it shouldn't be done, it isn't necessary. And so you need to be able to ignore people. But then once you ship, you need to learn to listen to them as they tell you how to fix the Macintosh that they never knew they wanted before. It's a very hard bit to flip. Churn, baby, churn. You have to fix your revolution. Number 8, also learned from Steve Jobs, is if you want big accomplishments, you have to issue big challenges. Not to simply do a slightly better MS-DOS machine, slightly better Macintosh. You have to have big challenge, not a slightly better phone, but a much better phone. So I'll show you some historical examples of big challenges from Apple. When IBM entered the computer business, we ran this ad. It said, welcome IBM, seriously. We're welcoming IBM to the fray. And then in 1984, we ran this commercial where we said that we were going to prevent a George Orwellian 1984-ish totalitarian society by having this woman run down this hall and throw this sledgehammer at this iconic view of IBM, right? A big challenge. When Steve was motivating us in the Macintosh vision, it wasn't about shipping a personal computer. It was about saving democracy. And then when Apple was in this difficult time, when Wired was saying, if you're Apple, you need to pray. These are the kinds of challenges that Apple faced. And I think these big challenges made Apple step up and create big innovations. The 9th thing is that I learned that if you want to be innovative, you need to be able to change your mind. Many people think that changing your mind is a sign of stupidity or weakness. I think that changing your mind is a sign of intelligence and strength. Let me show you an example. Our innovative approach using Web 2.0 based standards lets developers create amazing new applications while keeping the iPhone secure and reliable. Steve Jobs said this at the announcement of the iPhone. Let me translate what he's saying. He's saying no apps. He's saying if you want to create extra functionality for an iPhone, you do it through a Safari plugin. Okay? At the time, he claimed it was because a phone, should be secure and reliable. You might skeptically ask the question, well, Steve, what about my computer then? How come my computer doesn't have to be secure and reliable? Why does my phone have to be, but not my computer? But what can I say? But when he said this, all the experts, all the analysts said, Steve, we're not worthy. We're not worthy. You are so right, Steve. Keep our phones secure and reliable. Fast forward 11 months. Apple executives to showcase Mac OS X Leopard and OS X iPhone development platforms at the WWDC 2008 Keynote. Let me translate this for you. This is saying we're opening up the iPhone. Now you can write native apps, iOS apps. Let there be iFart. Let there be iEverything, right? This is a 180-degree reversal. When Apple did this, the same experts who 11 months earlier said, Steve, you are so right. Keep our phone closed and secure and reliable. Now they're saying, Steve, you are so right. Open it up so there's innovation. And so you have to ask yourself the question, well, how can he be right twice when he reversed himself? By definition, that's part of the genius of Steve Jobs. But truly, they were absolutely right to reverse this decision, to open up the system. And it's a very valuable lesson that if you want to be innovative, you have to be willing to change your mind. Change your mind. 180 degrees. Change your mind. Number 10. Number 10 is don't let the bozos grind you down. Arguably the most important recommendation I can leave you with. I think that there are two kinds of bozos in the world. There's the slovenly, disgusting body odor, pocket protector, rusty car, Japanese watch, loser bozo. That bozo is not dangerous because that bozo is so obviously a loser that you would not listen to him. Because only a loser would listen to a loser. That bozo is not dangerous. The bozo who is dangerous dresses in all black. The bozo who is dangerous is rich, powerful, successful, visible. The dangerous bozo owns lots of things that end in I, like Lamborghini, Maserati, Armani, Ferrari. Audi is okay. Audi is an exception to this rule. This bozo is dangerous because you look at this bozo, you say, rich, powerful, famous, owns lots of things and end in I. This person must be smart. I think that there is a big leap of faith there, that rich, famous, powerful does not always parse to smart. I would say 50% of the time it parses to lucky, not smart. And so this bozo is dangerous because this bozo might tell you, don't do this, can't be done, shouldn't be done, isn't necessary. And you might be tempted to listen to this winner bozo, whereas you would never be tempted to listen to the loser bozo. So I believe that bozosity is like the influenza. How do you prevent the flu? You get inoculated. What does inoculation mean? You get a little bit of flu so that when you encounter big flu, you're already prepared. Right? So I'm going to give you some examples of bozosity. So when you encounter bozosity, you've already built up the antigens. All right. So I think there's a world market for maybe 5 computers. Thomas Watson, chairman of IBM, allegedly said this in 1943. A world market for 5 computers. I have 5 computers in my house. I have all the computers he anticipated in the world in my house today. This telephone, you're going to love this one. This telephone has too many shortcomings to be seriously considered as a means of communication. The device is inherently of no value to us. Western Union, internal memo, 1876. Oops! Western Union writes off telephony. How many of you use Western Union lately? Like one of you. None of you. That guy was scratching his face. None of you. How many of you use PayPal lately? Lots of you, right? So why isn't Western Union PayPal? Ask yourself that. Why isn't Western Union PayPal? It's because Western Union wrote off telephony. It's hard to go from telegraph to internet if you write off telephone in the middle. You know what I'm saying? Like, as Jeffrey Moore would explain, it's just too big a chasm to cross. Maybe the strategic direction for Western Union in 1876 was, let's teach Americans the Morse code. How hard could that be? Then we could put a telegraph in every house. This is bozosity. This is bozosity. One more example. There's no reason why anyone would want a computer in their home. Ken Olsen, founder of DEC, said this. Ken Olsen, he was a stud of an innovator and an entrepreneur. He created DEC. My God, he changed the world from mainframe to mini. But he was so successful in the mini computer curve, he could not embrace the personal computer curve. And imagine if Steve and Woz had met him at Comdex or CES and said, Mr. Olsen, we have a different vision for computing. Computers should be small and cheap and easy to use. So small, so cheap, so easy to use. You could have one in your home, Mr. Olsen. And Mr. Olsen said, son, there is no reason why anyone would want a computer in their home, because if they want to balance their checkbook, they'll drive back to their office and use a DEC mini computer running Quicken. And then there might not have been a personal computer business. This is dangerous, dangerous bozosity. You need to be able to ignore the bozos. I'm going to give you one more bozo story. So this is kind of an aha moment myself here. So, aha, I'm so stupid moment. About 15 years ago, I get a call from Mike Moritz of Sequoia Capital, great VC firm. And he says, Guy, you want to interview for a CEO position of a company I just funded? I said, what's the company? He told me the company. I looked up their website. I talked later to him, and I said, you know, Mike, my wife and I, we have one child. She's in beta with our second child. I don't really want to drive an hour each way, Mike, man. It is too freaking far to drive every day. I'd have to drive from downtown San Francisco to Menlo Park every day. That's like an hour each way, you know? That's too far to drive. And I looked at their website, Mike, and it's like, you know, what's the patent-pending, curve-jumping, enterprise-class, scalable, carrier, quality product that they have? There's nothing. It's a collection of favorite websites. What's the business model? Well, 15 years ago on the internet, there was no business model, right? What were we going to do? Sell classified ads and, you know, singles ads to ARPANET scientists? So there was no business model. And so where's the world-class team, Mike? It's like 2 PhD students from Stanford. They worked at the bookstore last summer. Like, where's the proven management team? So I turned down the opportunity to interview to be the first CEO of Yahoo. Now, I know. Like I said, it's an aha moment. So I've been thinking about this for about 15 years, 7 weeks, 6 days, and 8 hours and 15 minutes. And I've been thinking, and you know what? This is how it would have gone down. I should have taken the interview. I would have gotten the job. Because when the principal investor in your company calls up somebody and says, would you like to interview for the CEO position? He's already made up his mind. You know, this is not hijack and struggle. They're trying to cast a big net, looking for a lot of people to justify their $250,000 fee. He's already made up his mind, right? So I would have gotten the job. Well, what percentage of Yahoo would I have gotten? Probably 10%. I would have been the first adult there, right? 10%. So how would it have worked? Get 10% of Yahoo vesting over 4 years, right? 1/48th per month. Now, let's be conservative because, you know, CEOs don't always work out. Let's say I lasted 2 of the 4 years investing. Okay, so 2 years into a 4-year vesting schedule, they call me up and they say, Guy, you know, we had an emergency board meeting last night. We decided that you're not the person to take Yahoo to the next level. We need someone who can go to New York and stand toe-to-toe with the media moguls, go to LA, stand toe-to-toe with the media moguls, stand toe-to-toe with Rupert Murdoch, Barry Diller, Steve Jobs, Steve Ballmer, Steve Case, you know. So we're replacing you. And I would have been very calm. I'm a calm guy. So you know something? Okay, I understand. You're replacing me. But you have to understand something. You may not have noticed, but I'm Asian American. As an Asian American, I am considered an oppressed minority in employment law. So as an oppressed minority, I will tell you that, you know, I view this as wrongful termination. So if you pursue this, there's going to be a wrongful termination lawsuit. And frankly, I think public sentiment will be on my side because let's just look at history here. Let's start with World War II. So in World War II, who was America fighting? Italy, Germany, and Japan. Okay, you know, the axis of terror. So, okay, so like, did you ever hear of German Americans being taken out of their homes and stuck in camps? No. How about Italian Americans? Did the U.S. government go to Little Italy in New York and wipe them out, put them in a camp in the middle of the desert in Colorado? No. But the Japanese, yeah, you took all of us and stuck us in camps. Okay, data point number 1. Data point number 2, at the end of World War II, what country dropped not 1 but 2 nuclear weapons on another country? America against Japan. Now you're firing me. We're seeing a trend here, okay? So I said, you know, there'll be a wrongful termination lawsuit on your desktop. And frankly, turn your TV to CNN at noon because live from in front of the Yahoo corporate headquarters, there'll be 60 old, crippled Japanese women protesting the wrongful termination of one of theirs. And they would have said, time out, Guy, remain calm. Okay. So what would it take you to go away quietly? Because, you know, at that level, you always believe you can buy off any problem. So I said, okay, so you clearly don't want me, so I don't want to be here, and I vested half of my stock, so why don't you just give me the other half, because, accelerate the vesting, what do you care? You already budgeted it, so give me the other half. And they probably would have said, okay. So by my calculation, this response of, it's too far to drive, and I don't see the business model, cost me $2 billion. Now, you guys in telecommunications, $2 billion is nothing for you, right? I mean, like, Tim, you have that in your ashtray in your Lexus, right? Yeah. So that's like, that doesn't even require 2 signatures at AT&T, right? Okay. But for most people, $2 billion here, $2 billion there, it adds up to real money pretty quickly. So as I said, I've been thinking about this for 15 years, 7 weeks, 6 days, now, 50 minutes. And I've come to the conclusion that for the love of my wife, to be there as my 4 children were growing up, I made the right decision. I picked my family over making money. That's what I did. I picked meaning over family. Thank you. Here's where this breaks down. I believe that explains and justifies $1 billion. Okay? From the bottom of my heart, I tell you, it's the second billion that pisses me off. Because the second billion shows that I, too, was a bozo. I had Ken Olsen disease. I was successful in the personal computer curve. I looked at the internet and thought it was just a modem cable, right? It wasn't a new curve. It was the same curve. I was just as dumb as anybody who was on the ice harvesting curve seeing an ice factory, or an ice factory seeing a refrigerator, or a daisy wheel printer company seeing a laser printer. I, too, was a bozo. And that was a very valuable aha moment. Not as powerful as pepperoni and eggs, but it was a very, very powerful moment. And so I leave you with this thought that, of all the things that I can communicate to you, I hope that you remember that the first and the last things I mention are the most important, which is innovation is derived, it's just anchored, it's caused by a desire to make meaning, to change the world, to make the world a better place. And in that path, you will encounter bozosity. Beware the dangerous bozo. I wish I could tell you every time a dangerous bozo tells you you'll fail, it means you'll succeed. It's not that simple. But if you listen to a dangerous bozo and never try, you will never know. So don't let the bozos grind you down. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.